Yes, those are the moths. And but I brought these in because I finally decided to gather together all of my full range speakers that are sitting in storage and get them into these and play with them all over again.
There
It's
you
been a
go.
long time, and um, well, it's just time to have fun. For me, speakers are just purely for my own entertainment.
For sure. Yeah, I just I have to get some shipped from California. I took on trade some Feastrex field coil
Oh yeah.
drivers.
Oh,
Yes.
you're probably dealing with the guy in Nevada.
No,
No. Oh, these.
below. He's down in Dana Point area.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like down there. It's a client of mine.
Oh,
And
I
he
see.
just, yep, he got some new speakers. And so I took these on trade for, I was selling him a DAC. And I took these and he's got them in cabinets. And I've not had a pair of field coil yet that are just like, crossoverless type single driver. So I'll have a chance to play around with that and listen to it and explore it. And I'm hanging on to your SIT 3, man, to use for that.
Well, the SIT 3 is excellent, mate to those.
Okay.
And most of the first watts get along just really well with it. They all bring something a little different to the table.
Yes.
The Feastrexes were really seriously favorites of mine, but they are no more.
Right. These were made, evidently they were made by the guy that used to be there. Like there was some hand craftsman, the guy that actually put them together. I don't know what his name was.
Oh, Chris, and I forgot his last name, unfortunately.
I mean, it was a Japanese guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking more of the guy who worked so hard to popularize them, who actually, he was in Japan, I believe, and I had a bicycle accident and died.
No.
But he wasn't Japanese, but he was helping the guy who was making them. Yeah. But I don't know if this is the same guy.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know that there was a special varnish applied to the
paper. Oh, well, it was washi paper, and the paper was made by an official Japanese treasure.
Yeah. That's, I think, yeah. So there's a story among special. My client is Asian and he does business over there, and so he knew the guy that was making them. They became buddies. Evidently, this guy split off to do another brand. I can't remember, but he left Feastrex. But this was one of his last pairs that he'd made while he was still there, and he used some techniques that he was saving for himself for his little whatever he started. So
you can't help but wonder what he's got.
Yeah, exactly. I know. So, well, you mean as his new speakers?
Yes.
The guy. What did he get? He went away from single driver into something else, and I can't remember. I can't remember what it was. Yep. So I'll be exploring a little bit of that, and I have some Voxitives. I have some AERs.
Yes,
a pair of
which were the predecessors to Voxitive.
Yep. And so I'll play around a little bit, and I plan to use your SIT along with some single-ended triode amplifiers that I have. Some tubes.
Yeah, very appropriate.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about national treasures, going back to that, I've become quite involved with static induction transistors, who were invented. They became also known as VFETs during the 70s. So the Sony and Yamaha VFET amplifiers used these parts, and the design actually precedes normal junction FETs and MOSFETs. It goes back to, I think, 1969 by a guy named Nishizawa, who, like I say, if they name national treasures in semiconductors, that's him. Because these parts are fabulous. The Sony and Yamaha VFETs are amazing. Well, still amazing parts. I'm still, especially amongst the DIYers, plus that SIT 3 that you're hearing, that is an offshoot of that. It's a VFET like those, but it's rendered in silicon carbide by people who, a short-lived outfit in the US.
Oh, okay, got you.
And I something in excess of 10 years ago, I was dealing with these people buying silicon carbide powered JFETs for things like the J2s and right now the F8s, and we're getting running through the last inventories of those after 10 years. But in talking to these guys, their head of development said, have you considered using SITs? And I went, well, what's that?
Yeah, exactly.
And he explained to me what it was, which is a FET, a junction FET that has a character like a triode. Whereas normally FETs are pentodes. They have curves that flatten out with the in this case, if it was a tube for a pentode, the curves on these things flatten out again or voltage across the plate to cathode. Whereas the triodes, the gain of the device depends not only on what's going in it for control voltage, but also the output voltage. And so in the VFETs and the SITs, it's an emulation of a triode, whereas everything else is an emulation of a pentode. And if we know our tube guys, we know that they have a particular fondness for the triodes, but they don't get that out of semiconductors until they consider using SIT. So the first watt has become a big source of SIT design and product.
Yes.
Partly simply because I tossed the money at it to make it happen. And I had a custom run built of these parts. I got 2,000 of them.
Yep.
And then they went bankrupt. And then more recently, then after that, the only outfit that we could look at was in Japan. Token, is TOKIN, was making giant SITs up to kilowatt figures.
Oh wow!
Big industrial parts.
Sure.
They were destroyed in the Fukushima earthquake, and thus
we're no more. I mean, it's like
you can't win.
Yeah, you can't.
Cosmos doesn't want us to have these.
No, it's crazy. So
I took that as my cue though, and I got all I could.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you. I have an amp right now. I import these amps from Serbia called Nat Audio. And I have a very unique design right now, pair of monoblocks that uses a single FET and a single New Vista tube. And the tube is wired in between the two electrodes of the FET. So I don't know if that makes sense to you or if I'm saying it right, but it's a hybrid. It has one tube in it, little teeny like acorn thing or whatever. And then one like military grade high falutin FET, and together they make 100 watts single-ended class A.
Okay, well, I have a buddy that that we share projects, who sent me a pair of amplifiers that kind of correspond to that approach. He's got a big fat semiconductor and a nice little tube up front. I'd have to see the schematic before I imagine how much similarity there is. But
sure.
And that's a very valid approach. And the other thing that one can do too is same trick, but with SITs, is use a little SIT, of which they're easier to get than the big ones, and made it to a large output stage and have at it.
Sure. I got it. So now, okay, so we've talked a lot about like the first watt. What with PASS Labs, they seem like big, powerful amplifiers, and they are clearly.
That's what they are.
What is the aim, and how are those? But how do you wrap that into a package for us so we understand in a package what is that which is PASS Labs?
Well,
it's AB. Oh wait, it's A and AB.
It's well, we make both.
Okay.
Our ABs are still run pretty hot.
Okay.
But they will compromise the amount of bias that they idle at to get you into more power if that's what it is that you're looking for. So our customers, first off, they don't mind spending money. PASS Labs is not an inexpensive product, and First Watt and PASS Labs have kind of a complementary relationship. First Watt, and deliberately so, stays below 25 watts and below, and PASS Labs is up above there. The costing of product is, the First Watt is down here at a relatively modest price. If you call some of these amps, they're still quite expensive.
Sure.
Whereas PASS Labs is, cost is no object in some cases. Although I like to do stuff that is affordable. I mean,
sure.
I'm
with you.
Yeah. I'm just kind of a cheap guy myself,
Value.
For the last 20 plus years, I mean, PASS Labs is we're on our 31st year now. For actually 25 of those years, we have sold amplifiers that are push-pull in nature. Okay, there were some early single-ended units, so Class A single-ended units when I launched the company in '91. But we segued into having amplifiers that are generally push-pull, and with almost no exceptions are also balanced input-output topologies. We try to keep it real simple, 3-stage. You've got your input transistor, you got a voltage gain, pair of transistors, and then you've got a big follower output stage. And of course, all the hardware is in that big follower output stage in the power supply. Big sinks, big bias, just the kind of thing that you want if you've got solar array on the roof. And that's the market for PASS Labs product. People who are looking for performance and a particular kind of performance. I'm not shooting to have the lowest possible measured distortion to be seen on the planet. There are other guys who are perfectly competent at doing that. I look to have an amplifier that is very good, but also does so with a very simple circuit. And it's my observation that simple circuits generally sound better. And they do have their, because of that simplicity and the fact that I'm not looking for 000 specs. I get 00 specs most of the time for PASS Labs, but I'm not shooting to be that guy.
That's not your aim. What is the aim?
I'm aiming for something that sounds really good.
Okay.
And if I get that off of a lower distortion product, or if I get that off of something that's got more distortion, even though I consider it has to be very reasonably low, that's our goal. And I've gotten to be actually pretty good at designing around that using objective measurements. In other words, I can look at a scope trace and say, that's going to sound like this, or that's going to sound like that.
Oh, wow.
And so I don't have a problem, separating the wheat from the chaff coming out of the gate, but we still then go through a rigorous process of listening. And we have a group of people who are good at this. We tend to have standard, for many years, we all listened to the same, we had 4 pair of tannoys, identical tannoys. They're put together by my deceased partner, Joe, who was the best ears on the planet. This guy was amazing. And so I have good ears, but he could pull out stuff that and I could trust him. If when he told me that, no, that's not good, it didn't matter what I thought because he was more reliable.
Sure.
Anyways, he fortunately taught members of our group all the tricks that he knew. And but the point here is that listening is a very important element of this, and we have a group of people who usually have to reach consensus on something. But the other thing too is everything we do. If you look at PASS Labs, when the first X amplifiers came out, I think it was about 11, 12 years before we updated them with something.
Yes.
And then it was with the 0.5s, and then those went another, 8, 10 years.
I mean, a good design. Why do you have to change a good design? I say that all the time. They don't change. The best stuff.
Well, not only that, but I talked about that straight jacket that success brings you. Most of our business is offshore, and the distributors who are offshore, and for that matter, the dealers who are onshore, don't go changing everything all the time.
Exactly.
And we got a good deal going, So
it's like Harley Davidson. Why change Harley Davidson?
So we make progress in small increments. We let them accumulate, and then when there's enough, that same model will acquire some of that stuff. And like I say, well, then we'll call it a 0.8 or something like that.
Yeah.
So we're very conservative about this. So the changes that do occur are really fairly subtle most of the time.
Sure.
Going from the 0.8, 0.5s to the 0.8s, which happened about, I don't know, I guess we're going on 5 years now. It was interesting because this was the first time that we actually made enough of a difference that people went, "Oh, wait a minute, whoa, wait, that's different." And there were some people who went, "Oh no!" Actually, one guy who was blogging, I just said, "Is this a misstep? You know, have they screwed up?" And he was not at all sure. You know that he liked it. Well, I was incredibly gratified that about 3 months later he said no, he liked the new one better.
Yeah, there you go. Sure, just took a little. Yeah,
I pay close attention to what these guys say, by the way, because that's my audience. You know.
Yeah.
So we're happy that we have actually made what we consider to be progress.
Yeah.
And we're a small company.
Yeah.
We've got people who go all the way back, trace all the way back to ESS days. When I started at ESS in 72.
Okay.
You know, what is that? Oh, that's 50 years ago.
Oh yeah.
And
that's wild.
I met my wife there.
Yeah.
She was folding Heil diaphragms.
Yeah. Oh, far out. Yep.
Yeah.
You're like,
so
you're a good folder. Yeah.
But we have a culture at PASS Labs which goes back very far, and
sure,
all the way back to ESS and through Threshold, and then we, you know, when we started these newer companies, we stole as many of the quality people from the old as possible. So as it sits right now, I haven't run the company for some years, and somebody that Joe Samet, who was a stockholder, he's my deceased partner, much beloved, who was a stockholder at ESS. He became a stockholder and also management then later at Threshold, and then actually he ended up marrying the lady who was an accountant, the accountant at Threshold, who had been an accountant at ESS.
Oh,
okay. And
lovely family.
But and then through some fabulous mistake, we bought him out.
Yeah.
And he went to work for Krell.
Oh wow! How about that?
Yes.
Touché.
And that's where, when, in my opinion, Krell really started doing very well.
Oh sure. Yeah.
Well, Dan will appreciate that. Anyways, but also. When he was at Krell, he ran across a guy just off the boat from Ireland, a digital engineer, and he recruited him to start Krell Digital as a separate company, and they built that up. That person's name was Desmond Harrington.
Oh yeah, I know Desmond.
And yes, and Joe observed that Harrington's talents went beyond that of just doing digital engineering. So he sent him to school to be trained further in industrial design.
I do know Desmond. I know Desmond as like an executive. You know, I don't know him as an engineer.
Well, we take all our talent and we turn them into executives. You know, that's so. The story's not over yet, though.
Okay.
But that was when Krell's metalwork and faceplates and stuff like that started looking really spiffy.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So I had the opportunity, though, later to get Joe back. And I just gave him a chunk of the company. I said, you know, come back here. Well, he had to move to California because Barbara, his wife, said, Joe, I can't stand the weather, the snow out here anymore. I'm going back to California. You can stay or you can come with me.
Yeah.
So he came back out. So I got him into PASS Labs, where he just began, you know, making things all that much better for me. And he brought Desmond out also. Okay. And that's when our faceplates started looking really swell. And so the years go by. And we have a management team. We also have Wayne Colburn, who designs, and in addition, and he was at Threshold.
Okay.
And, okay, so we even have, let's see, I don't know if she's still there. People are retiring, you know, they're getting old. But we have also the daughter of somebody going all the way back from ESS and then Threshold and now PASS.
And I think so we can give a little cred too, so people know Threshold became Coda, right? Or
well, the technicians
came from Threshold.
We had there were 3 guys at Threshold who well, got tired of Threshold.
Right, yeah.
And formed Coda.
Yeah. Yep. And you speak about the metal too, which is a name is coming to me, Roger from PC Metal Fab or something.
Well, it could be Roger from Auburn Machine.
There was a company, man. I went by the place and it was way up in the beautiful area of the hills up there. And
I know who you're talking about.
And I walked in and it was PASS Labs faceplates being made right alongside our AB stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just a moment. I've forgotten his name. It's terrible. You know, at 71, my memory's not so good.
Dude, I don't remember.
If Jill was here, she would remember. Jill? Hey, who was the machine shop that we had for Threshold?